paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. We are recording early tonight. Do you hear that? Jason popping that beer. That's an early afternoon beer because
It's 5
we are
o'clock
coming
somewhere.
to you. It is 5 o'clock
Here,
somewhere.
it's 5 o'clock here.
It is, however, way past 5 o'clock for our guest, who we appreciate staying up to podcast with us tonight. Heiko Schmidt, owner of Tokyo MTG. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
How's it going? Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, so we were talking before the show. It turns out we actually ran into each other at a GP in Barcelona a couple years ago in the before times.
Once upon a time, yeah.
Yeah, so you're just jetting all over the world, huh? At least you were anyway.
I used to, yeah. And it all kind of ended at some point. Try guessing when that was. Yeah.
You know that one, there's like a saying where any 6 people like can be connected all across the world?
No, that's
Or
Kevin
whatever,
Bacon.
like, what?
That's Kevin
It's Kevin
Bacon.
Bacon.
Is it?
Yeah, 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Okay, sure. I'll believe you. But the point is, like, I feel like Magic players have a lot to do with that, right?
Yep.
Like, with the amount all of us have traveled and have, like, connected, even if it's just like a 30-second interaction or something with another person.
Honestly,
What you're doing
if you
is-
ask me, it's probably like more like 3 degrees to Magic players. And especially Magic dealers, specifically.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like DJ's blaming Magic.
Corbin
for the
has written
pandemic.
for every content site there is. So
That's-
it's really 1 degree.
Yeah, that's true. I think I have less power now than I did a few years ago. At some point a few years ago, I held the keys to the social media of like the 4 largest Magic companies and Wizards of the Coast. It was truly could
You
have
could have
blown
had
it
a
all.
really, really epic day on Twitter.
I was gonna say, like, you could have a single Ted Cruz moment, and then it all just comes crashing down.
I could have been the main character of not just Magic Twitter, but of Twitter. If I
You
had
would
coordinated that
would
one
have
properly.
made mainstream media publications
with a coordinated, yeah.
if you with a 5-point strike. Goodness, right in the heart of the game.
What will kill Magic? No one ever wrote about it. The person they gave all of social media to.
We'll kill Magic. Corbin's phone getting hacked. Corbin leaving his phone in an airport and saying
I
it was
would
stolen
never.
when really someone just noticed it in an airport. Too
I would
soon.
never. I would never. It is too soon, man. Come on.
Nah, you wouldn't do that to a phone. Those are worth hundreds of dollars.
To be fair,
Okay,
I'd
so
never
for some
let my
reason we still
$300
get-
phone out of my site.
to be
For
fair,
some reason, we still get new listeners. So for context, Corbin
had a deck
misplaced-
stolen.
misplaced a competitive EDH deck.
No, it was a Canadian Highlander deck, and I had it stolen from me. And to be fair, Jason, the near mint Library of Alexandria in it was only a couple $100 at the time,
Okay.
along with all the duels and.
It sounds like a pretty competitive deck.
It was a blue-white
expeditions.
deck. I'd be
Yeah, but it
interested
wasn't
to see how many
wasn't
duels are in it.
Do what? It was a Jeskai deck, so I had the all of them that I could.
Okay. I'm
It
sorry.
was Jeskai. It was Jeskai. Everything was expeditioned. It was quite sad. But hey, thanks for bringing it up every few weeks, everybody. Appreciate that.
It's me. Don't give everybody credit for
And
farting
no,
videos.
well, everybody at home does it too, so it's cool. Nice.
Tweet at
meme.
Corbin. When this
Cool
episode goes
meme.
live, tweet at Corbin. Just tweet Canadian Highlander. I will send a glass to somebody, a random person who
Oh
tweets.
my gosh. Get out of here. Let's move on. Let's do what we're here to do, which is talk to our guests. Welcome to the show. Briefly, let people know what it is that you do in Magic. Obviously, you work as a vendor, but tell people just sort of what's your role in your store, where you kind of fit into the international Magic community.
Right, so I do own the store, Tokyo MTG, which is located in Tokyo, Japan, as you might have guessed from the name. It's a store, first of all, but it's also what I would like to call one of the first actual art galleries for Magic in the world. It's something that people, for some reason, like to talk to me a lot more about than just the card store, because, you know, card stores, I guess, are boring these days because everybody has them. And so, yeah, we do art. And we do cards. We do a lot of, you know, high-end trading. We used to do a lot of events all over the world. We don't do that anymore because reasons, again. And my role in all of that is, first of all, I started. So Tokyo MTG started almost about 10 years ago at this point, that we've been around. And yeah, I've been mostly running events for us this whole time. And since about 3 years ago, I also started an office in Germany. I'm originally from Germany, so that's where that came all about. And I'm sure you guys know, you know, card market and access to that is a pretty convenient thing in this industry. Yeah. So at some point we realized that we should probably tap into that potential. And so we've been having a German office as well. And what I do now is I mostly actually run not that much anymore. I just oversee our two managers, one for Japan and one for Germany. And then I deal with, you know, the more like owner, CEO kind of stuff, which is mostly dealing with high-end customers and then banks and accounting and the boring stuff. So I don't do as much as I used to. I was actually, when I was traveling all over the world the whole time, it was getting to a point where it was being too much. So Corbin, you might know how that feels when you don't even know what country you're in anymore, right? So I did that lifestyle for about 3 years and at some point also even my wife joined me, so it was quite nice. But at some point we were like, this is getting too much. We don't even know where we are anymore. Let's just reconsider what we're gonna do next. And yeah, the like 2 months after we decided to have our last event for a half a year, the pandemic started. So that kind of all happened to be not the worst timing, I guess, in a way. But yeah, it got us stranded in Tokyo at some point, first of all. And then we were like, okay, what do we do next? Because we just didn't know how to deal with being at home the whole time. And so it all developed from there. But long story short, I do a lot of remote meetings these days. That's kind of what I'm like the main guy for at this point. I just do remote meetings with people just to make sure that people do the things that they need to do to keep the card store running. And
I mean, it sounds like you won. Like this is the end game for a lot of,
you know,
people's vision to.
I've been talking to a lot of people about that lately, like other vendor friends and such. I guess in a way it is, right? But I'm not sure how many people would actually be happy in this situation, because I don't deal with cards anymore and I don't know what cards are anymore. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm even the best guest to be on this specific podcast, because like I was telling Jason before you guys arrived that if you're doing pick of the week, I don't even know what I'm supposed to talk about. In my recent memory, like Call Time just came out, you know, so that's kind of where I'm at.
To be fair, objectively, Call Time just came out.
Yeah, I know. Like we were talking about this before, but like I don't think you're alone in that. Where people just their view of time and how Magic passes them by. Even if they might not be running a huge international company, like I think a lot of people share that sentiment of like these cards just came out. There's 900 new EDH commanders every set, and I think a lot of people have distanced themselves from the game, or just even if they tried to keep up with the game has distanced itself from them.
And especially in how many directions they've been going. Like Wizards obviously does a lot of new stuff these days. Sometimes it gets weird where like people like my staff asks me about things. Like obviously one of my roles is people ask me about my opinion and how I feel about things in my experience. And I usually am pretty good at giving advice as like the old guy that people ask for advice of. But like the other day, somebody was like, so like there's this new type of card. It peels off to reveal a different card. I'm like, yeah, nice April Fool's joke. And it took some convincing for me to realize that it was actually real. And I'm still not sure what
it was a real thing.
I'm still not sure what we're supposed to do with that, because like, how do you like what? Like it makes no sense.
I'm still getting over the fact that they printed cards with store names on them. So
Well,
like you can get a worm coil.
I just learned something.
Yeah, you can get a worm coil engine that says like if
Okay.
you're a high enough level store that does these events, you can get like a worm coil promo that says like Star City Games or Tokyo MTG like printed on the card because you're the store like instead of a game day playmat, that's like your store championship card.
Hey, that's cool.
Crazy. That is
Okay,
that
that's
is cool, but it's also, man, I just feel bad for all the people who have to inventory this stuff.
Right,
You know?
that's the thing is like it's a new territory for like logistics and catalog and product management, but like we started this like 4 years ago at this point with like Unstable having 6 versions of each card, and that was like the top of the roller coaster.
Yep.
Yeah.
Going back all the way to Fallen Empires. Yay.
Yeah, I was joking
right.
that this week's Breaking Bulk was going to be a card with 7 printings and 6 of them were from Strixhaven. Because it's like any Mystical Archives card has the Japanese and the English versions, foil and non-foil. That's 6 right there.
Yeah.
Insane. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually really happy the way this played out for us, because one thing that I did, again, just as the pandemic was starting, and this is, by the way, going to be a thing that I feel like I'm going to keep saying today, because our company changed a lot with the pandemic. Like we had to go basically overnight from a company that travels over the world to do business with people internationally to a company that sells things in like online to one country. Like it took us a while to figure all that out, and it wasn't easy, and we're still in that transition in some ways. But one thing that we did just before Wizards was getting really crazy with all these versions was to change our system. We used to do what I think is very normal. It was just a set-based system of cataloging everything. So, this is the set and that's the card that is in this set. And it's at some point I was like, I felt like that wasn't really doing us any favors. And so we moved to a card-based categorization system. So now we don't even care what the set is. Oftentimes we don't even know what the set is anymore if it's more recent. And we just go like, well, this is the card you want. And so here's one of those that is like a normal version. And you can buy that at a normal price, and that's it. So
yeah, I mean, one of the main reasons I invited you was to talk about a tweet you made, maybe offhandedly,
all right, yeah.
at the changes to TCG Players Condition Guide, where they have a whole PDF little notebook thing for this is how many scratches a card has for near mint, this is how many dings it needs for LP, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and it results in TCG Player having 17 different conditions for non-foil and foil.
That is insane.
Between all these languages, et cetera. And I was saying like I think you should just be able to sell like near mint played HP, and that's conservative. That's like I'd be happier with even fewer conditions than that, but.
The way we do it, and this was part of our switching the system around, and it was multiple steps that we did, but one thing that we did is we moved away from even using any normal grading scale, because as an international company, one issue that we always had was if you go to an event, the people there are going to have their scale that you don't even know, right? And it was getting ridiculous at some point because try talking to Americans with the card market rating scale. I mean, I'm sure you guys have that all the time, right? Like it's not even emojis. It's like, like what do you guys call? Was it like LP? I think is a really bad grade.
LP is
for you.
excellent for you.
No, it's a good grade for you, isn't it? And for us, it's a bad grade. Like, see, I don't even.
Yes.
know.
Oh, yeah. The words LP. Yeah. Over there, it's like bad MP, and here it's like the step down from near mint. Yes.
Right. So LP for us is like the second worst condition, and for you, it's like
above
the second
good.
Best. Right? It's just completely
What does
ridiculous.
LP stand for in Europe? Lots of play?
Lightly played.
No, it's literally on card market. It's literally if you filter for lightly played, you'll get a bunch of bad cards.
Oh.
Yeah, it's card market grading is near mint, excellent, good, light played, poor.
Yeah.
I see why you cannot talk to Americans about this.
Exactly, right?
They're not even aware that another system
How do you
exists.
nest light play below play?
No, it's above played.
Okay.
You're good, right? Like, whatever.
Even then, like-
somebody else would have figured it out if that was really the case. So
So
there's no way I'm
anyways.
going to be the first. Everybody thinks they're going to be the first person to point some shit out, right?
Hey, Jason, did you know if they just loaded the plane in a different order, it'd go faster?
What?
Why don't you just make the whole plane out of the black box?
That's a good
I know
one.
I install air conditioning units for a living, but I do have some thoughts about epidemiology. So yeah, sorry for being that guy. Jesus.
No, it's fine. But I mean, like, even if you just use the term good, like, because good is a condition on card market. But
It's
like,
also,
if you just,
an English word that describes something that is not bad.
yes. And so if you take a card that's moderately played in the U.S. and asks, like, is this good condition? They'll shake their head.
So there's a story that explains why it's like this. NASA wanted to design astronauts suits that they could stay in for like long periods of time when they're doing like a spacewalk, repairing the shuttle, that kind of thing.
This
So
is
they
in
put
with them pooping in the suit.
They gave them a urine collection sleeve. And they're like, okay, we have 3 size sleeves. Your dick has to stay in the sleeve, otherwise you'll pee inside the suit. So we have small, medium, and large dick sleeves. And everyone's like, well, I'm large, clearly.
Didn't they rename that one Magnum?
No, they made it large, extra large, and like Magnum or whatever. And everyone's like, oh, I'm a large. So that's what you're dealing with. So we're just like, we like our dick sleeves.
So that's so that's the American perspective, is what you're saying, right?
Exactly.
Yep. What
that's
Jason
why we
just
have-
said is as American as it gets.
That's why great
Fair
condition
enough.
is the worst one. It's great, very good, excellent, pristine, and gem.
It's, in other words, completely ridiculous, right?
Well,
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
when we started out, it was interesting because the market has shifted multiple times, and I've been mostly watching the grading in Japan, right? When we started out, I think we were the first ones to adapt the SCT scale, which was just, near mint, SP, MP, HP. And I always liked that for being fairly simple, right? But then there were different stores going into different directions in Japan, and it started with like, stores going like the adding plus and minus, and then other stores trying to adopt different scales. And at some point it was just getting so kind of insane because, people switch stores to buy cards. And so at some point you would get other, like, regulars from other stores complaining about your grading system just because your grading system used similar words than other grading systems, but in other ways. And so at some point I was like, this is bullshit. Let's just get rid of it and let's see what we can figure out that makes sense for us. And the way that our market situation is in Japan is, you all know how they are, right? They're the big store that runs events, and they're like the tournament players or whatever. And so that's not our clientele. That's not what our customers are. For us, it's more the casual crowd. So we have a lot of, because of our store started as a Commander play group 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Like actually more than 10 years ago, but that's what it developed from. And so we have a lot of casual players, Commander players. We also have a lot of foreigners playing Commander at our store. And so with that community in mind, we were trying to think about, what do these people want? They want playable cards at whatever the cheapest price is for whatever version they want, right? And so at some point we were like, okay, let's just go with 2 conditions. Regular cards, that's literally what we call them. We got rid of the near mint or what excellent or whatever. We just call them regular. That's how you get them out of a pack. And then we have play cards, and that's it. And obviously there's a hidden third grade, which is like poor or damaged or whatever, but we don't even put those on the website, right? So they just go in the showcase in the store. But all that we have is regular cards, and the way that we grade them, so to speak, the way we define them is just, if you put the card in a sleeve and it looks fine, like it doesn't have any issues, then it's a regular card. If it has like one nick that's visible in a black sleeve from the front, then it's not regular anymore. So our plate can be really, really nice condition. Like we would probably have a lot of cards that like would be considered excellent or whatever in plate sometimes. But that's also, it fits for the Japanese market because they can be quite peculiar, right? So that's what our regular is, and it works pretty well for us. Like obviously we get questions even now from time to time where people go like, hey, what would you grade this on this store scale? And we're like, it's defined like this for a reason. If you don't like it, look, sorry. Like you can come to the store and look at it. You don't need to buy it if you don't want to. And we've been taking this kind of lofty approach, and it's actually kind of worked for us.
I mean, I personally love it because I think it's more efficient from like a listing standpoint and condition. Like when you have employees going through hundreds or thousands of cards.
Right. Just try to think about how much time and money you're saving trying to grade cards. It's insane, right?
Yeah. Just for whatever person who buys it on TCG Player here in the States to just argue with you about it anyways and try to get 30 cents back.
And that's, it's funny that you mentioned this because fortunately in Japan that doesn't really matter as much. Like I feel like this is a very cultural thing, right? Like people complain in different ways in different cultures. And in Japan, people are very peculiar, but they don't complain as much. And so even if they're not satisfied with the grading from a store, generally all that would happen is they just wouldn't buy from there again. And I feel like in that way, it's a self-correcting system, right? But in Europe, we actually have it in a different way because in Europe, when we first started getting into the European market, what we try to figure out is like, how can we apply this? Because we need to work with the card market system, right? And one of our first solutions is we'll just put everything up as excellent. We don't even care, right? And then we would get people starting to complain because our excellent was too nice. Like they would complain to us like, this would be near mint from another store. And we're like, okay, well, have a nice day, right? Like, whatever. And it was really weird because, like, a lot of people, especially in Germany, they're sticklers for just being correct, even if it doesn't benefit them, right?
Yeah.
And so we would get those kind of complaints from time to time. But then sometimes we actually get legit complaints where it's, like, not quite excellent. It's more, like, closer to good. And our policy is just like, okay, just send them back whatever percentage card market says the difference should be. We don't even, like, we don't double check. I should probably not say this on a podcast, but we don't really double check ever. And we just go like, okay, if you're saying this and
someone's going to get you for pennies.
Yeah, right. And we have message history, right? If somebody does it every time, we could just block them. But
well, and like the number of man hours you would spend paying somebody to do customer service, like labor is the most intensive cost of any business. So like
exactly, so
reduce
it. It's definitely something, and it makes the customer happy most of the time, right? So to summarize, our business philosophy has kind of been just be broad, but try to make the customer happy as much as possible. And if you find somebody who just won't be happy with what you offer, just don't deal with them.
Exactly. All right. Well, I believe the advice that I see most commonly for vendors on TCG Player is if you have a even remotely time-wasting experience with a consumer or with a customer, just block them and move on. Because it's just not worth the time. Just move on. But speaking of moving on, we're going to move on to Breaking Bulk.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Now that was a good transition.
Oh,
you need to move on from existence.
Good one.
Yeah, if you could transition to former podcast member, that would be a smooth transition.
I'll get right on that. In the meantime, Jason, why don't you go ahead and hit us with your
and pull your pants down. With
Actually, what I thought when I was listening to this podcast before is like I thought somebody was cutting it in such a way to make you look bad, Corbin, with like your transitions. So well, now I'm here. So
yeah, now you know we couldn't.
This is what it's
possibly edit it that much to make him look that bad.
The only step up is like the record scratch 90s like freeze frame. You're wondering how I got here.
My story starts 8 years ago when I wrote at the first of 13 sites that would eventually employ me for 6 months. Is that too real? Jesus. I made myself sad with that one. I'm going to make you guys sad with your inability
Jason took like the same career path as me. This isn't a good one for you. Like, dunking on me is dunking on yourself.
I have written for MTG Price for 7 years. I've written for Cool Stuff for 9, and I've been employed by EDH Rec for 6 years, so I'm doing okay. There are definitely some websites that I wrote for less than a year in there, but you don't remember that. So.
No, I do, but not everyone else does, and that's okay.
And that's okay.
What's your Breaking Bulk?
I'm gonna break Breaking Bulk with this. Uncommon white instant from Weatherlight. That's so much information. You gotta get it now.
Abeyance.
Nope. Abeyance is rare.
Well, we both said it.
Cool. Yeah, I picked a $9 reserve list card. You guys are geniuses.
True.
Uh,
You're right about that part.
it's got to be something to do with a new commander who's...
Has it?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that like Imperial Armor or something?
Is Imperial
that a
Armor
thing?
common?
It might just be. I'm not sure.
This is an instant. But Imperial Armor is legitimate.
Does it
one of my
untap a
favorite Magic
creature?
cards. It does not untap a creature.
Okay. It seems like that sounds like something a white uncommon from Weatherlight would do.
You're thinking Vitalize, and Vitalize for 1 green mana untapped all your creatures. So if you untapped 1 creature for 1 white mana, that would be a big ripoff.
I'm sure it did something else. I don't...
Trying to see if I have one.
This is probably a newer one, and I haven't picked Bulk in like 2 years, so...
I don't know what to tell you other than that this is $1.50 on TCG Player and $2 on Card
I mean,
Kingdom.
I will F6. You've got me.
Night.
Maybe. You might say it and I'll suddenly know what it is, but...
Argivian Find.
Oh, yeah.
Return target
course.
artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand at instant
Yeah,
speed
I
for
did know
1
this
mana.
one. It's more than it used to be, though, right? This used to be like a 30-cent pick that I would pull back in the day, and now it's like more.
People might be inclined to think Light Paws and Shorekai, 2 new commanders from Kamigawa, are responsible for this. But all the way back to Strixhaven, you have Quintorius Field Historian. Balin the Wandering Knight use this. Oswald Fiddlebender makes great use of this because Oswald Fiddlebender is it's a birthing pod for artifacts. So you sack an artifact to go get a better one, and then you bring it back with Argivian Find. What could be
Okay,
better?
so like real talk, like we were talking about before, that's not a real card name.
Oswald
like
Fiddlebender?
Yeah, like
It's a Dungeons and
that's a
Dragons
card.
card. You're just showing your ignorance of other cultures, man.
That's a card that somebody asked me about via text message. They said, "Do you have any cards for Oswald Fiddlebender?" And I was like, "Your spell check's broken." Like I'm
Oswald, the guy who invented tiny leaders?
Magic
Cards
card
for him? I don't know.
naming
They're probably
is
3
pretty
CMC,
creative
right?
these days.
Got him.
Like all the legendaries, like it a lot of it can sound makeup, doesn't it?
It's 25 legendary characters a set. Eventually, you're going to have to be like, well, we have Kuro, Pit Lord, but now we need Kura. It's like there are only so many combinations of sounds.
They really caught
you
me
can
off guard when they put my name in Kamigawa the other day. I was really
There's a
surprised by
Kamigawa
that.
card named Schmidt.
Not quite that one, no.
All right, I'm gonna come in here with a black uncommon from Strixhaven.
There's like one answer to this question, isn't there?
Do you know it?
Yes.
It's like some standard.
Is it
staple
super? Is this like a
Doomblade.
$2 card? Is this a super obvious? Is it the Plum the Forbidden?
Nope.
Wow, black uncommon.
Yep.
That's not Plum the Forbidden.
See, I don't know standard. So like, is it a Doomblade?
You said DJ said on this podcast standard did not affect card prices. It's not a Doomblade.
Is it a standard legal Doomblade that's also just good in Commander?
It is a standard legal card.
That is also
However-
good in Commander.
No, it's not. But
Is
it
it
is a black
just-
uncommon.
Is it just
from-
black, or is it like, oh, it's black on the front and green on the back, idiot?
It's a black uncommon, one-sided, 3 mana.
Is it
It's not a creature.
Did you say if it was an instant or sorcery or whatever?
It is a sorcery.
Man, I know Strixhaven decently well, and
Winner.
I'm sure I don't know.
Winner. You throwing in the towel, DJ?
Yeah, sure.
The answer is go blank. Do either of you know what that does?
It learns?
Is it
No.
a Mind Rot?
It is a
does-
mind rot.
Yeah, go.
Target player
yes.
discards 2 cards, then exile all cards from that player's graveyard. So it's very, very relevant in Pioneer.
I bet it's
to-
not played in EDH at all.
That's why I said I don't think this is very good in EDH. Like, it's nice that you could hit someone's graveyard, but I would not want to play a Mind Rot in EDH. But it is very good against Croxa or Arcanist type decks. and therefore, as a pandemic set, as an uncommon, it's 75 cents and climbing. So
this came out at the same time as Turgid and Tiny Bones and Torok and Umbrus. And I guess a bunch of people rebuilt their Nath of the Guiltleaf deck because they like printed Turgid and Tiny Bones, and then they printed a bunch of new elf cards all at the same time. So I bet there's a non-zero number of like those decks running this, but I don't think this gets played in EDH.
Yeah, this has gone up in 2022 only. This is the last couple months. So this is predicated on people thinking
playing
about
FNM, I guess, in
paper Magic.
Like people buying paper standard staples. It's kind of like whenever people start writing on yankeecandle.com that the candle had no scent.
Yeah, no sense. Yeah.
Once you start seeing a bunch of like go blanks go up in price, you're like, nope, another surge is coming.
DJ, you're up. What do you got?
I have a Ravnica green common.
Ravnica.
Uh-huh.
Is it a creature?
I've picked so much Ravnica recently.
Is it an elf?
Yes.
Is it one of...
Is it the unblockable by...
Yeah, the Sylvana Ledgewalker?
No,
that's
Sylvana
from Guild
Ledgewalker
Pact.
was Guild Pact.
Okay.
Mr. So Much Ravnica picked.
Yeah, well, same block.
I thought this one would be more obvious.
Well, I mean... Is it the
You said it's an elf, right? Is it the mana elf? Elf Dark Shadow?
It is the mana elf. Elves of Deep Shadow is like close to $2.
Oh, that was in Ravnica. Jeez, I thought that was in I
in
guess
the dark,
Golgari was in
baby.
the first set. Yeah, you got it.
Actually, no, you're right. Technically, this is a pick from the dark. Technically.
You're welcome. Thank you.
But that one's like
you
a $5
withheld that
card.
information
So.
deliberately. You monster.
The dark version's like $5+ or whatever, so I'm not counting that one.
Oh god,
This
I
is,
need so many of those.
I was thinking of cards that were printed first in Ravnica, not cards that were printed first in the dark. Given
Congrats,
the rules of the game, the DJ changed yet again.
DJ cheated in a game
I didn't
with
change
no
the rules
prizes.
of the game. I just broke the rules of the game. There's a difference. The rules are
You're
staying
right.
the same.
Well,
Yeah, he just ignored the rules of the
it's a
game.
good point, I guess.
DJ, you got to give the prize money back, dude.
Hashtag pay the pros.
Jesus Christ, man. I'm not trying to have my Twitter be miserable for 72 hours. I can do that myself, man. I don't need you to...
Oh, well, I accidentally got tagged on an article I didn't write by Wizards last week by the esports account, and it filled my Twitter for 2 days with nothing but people responding to that, complaining about alchemy existing. And
so that wasn't even like the article?
Yeah, it wasn't. I didn't even write whatever article it was, but because I was accidentally tagged erroneously by Wizards, I got to endure 48 hours of I'm just not touching Twitter. Fun stuff, really.
I took Twitter off my phone.
Smart thinking. I did that with Facebook a while back. Great decision.
Oh my god, I did it with Facebook 2 years ago. I mean, once I stopped doing comedy, I'm like, I don't. There was a FOMO thing where like, if you're on Facebook when someone posts that they need somebody to fill in and you're the first person to get on that, then you get work. So I was like camping on Facebook to get work.
Yep.
And then as soon as I stopped doing comedy, I was like, this is an app for old people. And then I kept the free messenger because I like having a free messenger that everyone has access to in exchange for them selling all my data. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that is a good way to look at it. Facebook is quite a boomer thing. And it's one thing to get on Facebook and complain about the boomers on Facebook, but at some point you're just being who you complain about. I don't know. It does suck because it matters for buying and selling cards and collections and content. All this stuff matters, and that's what makes social media.
I do so much work
toxic.
on high-end Facebook groups. It's
just toxic, man.
Yeah, but like you just stay off your feed, man. I'm not posting any dick jokes for my mom to see anymore. This is like 2022, but like there's certainly no substitute for Facebook when it comes to like all those sales groups. So
that's what I was going to say. I'm unfortunately in the position where I have to like be a part of them to sell certain niche goods. And I'm still like a semi one-man operation. I haven't had my employee in since my leg, but like I'm still in the position where I need to sell individual items on those groups sometimes, just because that's where you have to do it.
Well, and that's where you can go to. That's just kind of the game you have to play to keep the collections flowing your way too. You know, like,
can we retire this bit everybody does when they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you have to go to Reddit. Yeah, cool. Everything's an algorithm. So, like, if everything on these social media sites suck, it's because the algorithm is giving you garbage because it thinks you're garbage. Either it thinks you're a garbage liker.
That's the problem, Jason. I'm not mad that it's feeding me garbage. I'm mad that it knows I'm garbage.
That it knows what garbage I like. Yeah. So if your social media sites are garbage, maybe you're garbage. And maybe no one's impressed by you complaining or bragging about how you don't have a Reddit account. Oh, shit. We met a guy who doesn't have a Reddit account. Oh, my God. What's it like to be better than millions of people who use Reddit every day? To be a substitute for the 45 different tabs worth of websites they used to open. I used to go to a million websites, and now I go to one, but someone wrote a snarky comment before they got downvoted, and it's a trash platform. Well, it's a platform populated by people. People are trash. It's going to be a trash platform. Nobody's impressed that you don't have a Twitter account. I don't know how I would have seen somebody say that, but you know what I mean. So...
Great, thank you for that.
No one's
really
impressed.
Manifesto on life. I appreciate it.
No one's. Stop with the bit. It's a lame bit. It's dumb. Stop doing it.
All right, let's move on and let's talk about something you mentioned earlier about the store in Japan. Is you mentioned the words art gallery, and that sounds cool. And I know a lot of people in the community, including friend of the casts over at originalmagicart.store, are all big fans of this. So go ahead and tell us what's the deal there. What's the sort of the history, and what do you all have set up?
Right. So, I mean, it started out really simple, like most of the things we do, with just me being interested in it. You know, like many years ago, I was kind of getting into collecting art for myself right around the time where a lot of people got into it, just because it was becoming a lot more popular. And, you know, with all the shitty groups on social media happening, there was this magic art group that was gaining a lot of traction, I think, just around that time. And the way it really started was like almost accidentally, because it made me money. And that's kind of a funny story, because somebody in the community got really mad at me for flipping something. It's like I bought a piece of art for myself from one of the bigger collectors for a couple $100, and I picked it up at GP Seattle and took it with me to next weekend was GP somewhere in Australia. I don't remember.
Sure.
And
there's like three cities to choose from. It's not like
right.
They can figure it out.
Whatever, right? And so I had the art just sitting on the table because I wanted to display it, and somebody's like, "How much do you want?" And I'm like, "I don't know," and I just throw out double what I paid, and like, "Deal, here's the money." I'm like, oh, okay, I guess, right? Like, you have a deal, I made money, but now I'm out of art. Now I need to fix this. And so I ended up buying more art, and I ended up selling more art, and that was also at the same time where for the first time my Twitter account was exploding in popularity, because like way back in the day, I had always tweeted in English, and I was switching to Japanese just around that time. And turns out posting about art was really something that the Japanese people Twitter was into. And here I was tweeting about art, and people going like, "Can you go buy that for me?" And I ended up buying it for them. And it really turned into this whole business thing that really worked well for us. And yeah, we stuck with it. And now we're kind of like, I guess, the only store in Japan and one of the few stores in all over the world that regular deals in art. And we're actually also the semi-official partner for OMA in Japan. So I think you've had Josh on before, right? Like we basically sell prints for him in Japan, and we deal a lot with artists. We used to do a lot of artists event at our store, and it's just a niche that we carved out for ourselves that really worked out well with our type of customer, I guess, that we have. And yeah, it's just really popular and people really dig it.
It is an interesting spread of customers in terms of like, give me the cheapest card, I don't care what set, and I will spend $5,000 for that thing on the wall. Like,
well, it's interesting, right? Because I actually think it sounds really weird, but there is a surprising amount of overlap in the people that don't really care for pimp cards, but they care for the art on the card.
Sure. Okay.
So
I think that's true, because it's the crowd that cares more about the things in Magic than just like
it's aesthetics,
the number of dollars a card costs and how many tournaments it can win them.
So when you sell a regular version of the card, do you differentiate between the art for like something like I don't know.
So the way that our system is set up is that if you buy a card on our website, we'll just, like, when you search for a card, we'll just show you whatever the system has determined is the most recent regular looking version at a normal price, right? And then you can click one link that takes you to all the versions, and it looks just like every other Magic site. So you can still pick if you want, right?
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think the point with Magic art is that people get attached to cards through experiences and not through how pimp the card is, right? And so we, like, most of the art that I sell or have sold in the past is just somebody being really attached to it and like having had some kind of experience with it, right? So it's people trying to buy their commander, like the art to their commander is one thing, or like, art that was in a popular deck, like stuff like that. One of the
favorite guilds.
What's up?
Favorite guilds. I mean, that's how the first piece I ever bought from you was Golgari Rocket, and it's
I was gonna say, right? Yeah,
I grew up enjoying
favorite
Golgari. And that's
So there's definitely, like, I think the art and commander as well, at least the way we experience it in our store, is less attached to just financial value and more just to attachment to the cards themselves. So that's kind of like the direction that goes in. And then there's another type of overlap that happens to work for us, which is with the high-end customers, because we deal in a lot of high-end cards as well. And one business model that has worked really well for us that I'm not sure many other stores across the world are doing is just consignments. And I don't mean consignments in the sense of we put your stuff in our store, but it's like we have a complete service where we go buy whatever you want as long as you pay us a service fee. And it goes the other way around. We can try to find a customer for whatever super high-end thing that you have, and we'll try to find you a customer for a service fee. Right?
So it's like having a personal assistant. I dig it.
Pretty much, right? And that's kind of like the role that I've been filling with like the super high-end stuff. So like I think especially when was this? I want to say like 2-ish years ago, there was a point in time where we sold, I want to say 5 or 6 black bordered lotuses just in a time frame of like 4 months. And it was all like just people going like, oh, I heard you sold a beta lotus, can you find me one? I'm like, I guess, right? And then at some point, like at the very end of that path, it was like, I guess I'll just go on eBay and pick one up from there, because I couldn't find any other ones behind the scenes, right? And the thing is, we tell that to our customers, and they're like especially with our market, like they don't want to deal with English, they don't want to deal with PayPal, they don't want to deal with American sellers, there's all kinds of hassle that can go on there.
There's a brand trust there that's just like, I don't want to deal with fakes, I don't want to deal with just even if eBay has a guarantee, eBay will refund you, eBay will make sure whatever, but it's like it's time. It's again, it goes back to just time.
And for me, just thinking about it, I'm not someone who's buying black bordered lotuses on the regular here, but I would pay the convenience, sure, but just knowing the authentication, having whatever the word is, for the card.
And the thing is, we vouch for it as well, right? It's not just delivered and done, right? Like, we're usually good for it after. And so I think the most extreme example that we had that really showcases why this works is like somebody wanted to buy a specific lotus from the US, like a buyer located in Japan, and they wanted to buy it from the US, but they didn't want to deal with shipping. It was when shipping was just completely breaking down with the pandemic, right? Like they couldn't deal with that, And the seller also didn't want to do like anything internationally at all. And so what we ended up doing is we paid somebody in the US to go get it for us in Texas, hold on to it until shipping restarted, and then we ended up shipping it with FedEx to our location in Japan. And then we took the plane in Japan and took it to the customer who was living in the middle of nowhere in Japan. And they're paying for that. Right. So it's just one of those things that we do, and it works really well with art as well. Because
for sure, those are all, they're all one of a kind pieces. They're all
exactly. If we're the one company that you ask to find something, and we have a shot for finding it for you, right?
It's wild that this is a it's very similar to, at this point, literally sort of the high-end art market or any of these things where it's sort of people who are buying high-end collectibles just need someone to make that possible for them, and they're not interested in nickel and diming to make every margin on it because they just want it, right? They just want it
and especially with how much the prices have grown as well, right? Like one of the craziest deals I've done was actually fairly recently. Is like the end of last year, we bought a complete alpha set in Finland, right? And it's one of those things, like that person was shopping it around, and I know for a fact that they offered it to, for example, Star City Games, and Star City Games was like, I guess you can fly it to us to show it to us. And the guy was like, no, thank you. I don't want to leave Finland like ever. It's too dangerous in the world right now. And so we were like, okay, well, we'll go to your place. We'll stay with you for 3 days and we'll sort everything out and scan everything and grade the cards. And then we'll make an offer. And if you don't like it, you don't have to pay us for anything. So that's the kind of thing we do. And that collection, by the way, was completely sold within half a year, all in Japan. Or like mostly in Japan. I think 1/3 was roughly sold in Germany, but yeah, it's the kind of stuff that we are kind of specialized in, and it's a really weird but nice place to be in.
Yeah, where there exists a demand, people will find a way to supply it, right? So that's great.
By the way, okay, I wanna say my funniest story as far as all of this goes was I'm sure many of you know Will Larson. He's one of the biggest art collectors in Magic. At least DJ, I assume you would probably know him from the art market.
I know the name. I've never had a lengthy conversation. Yeah.
So he's known as the Godfather because he collects goblin art, among other things. He has a lot of art, but he's a really great guy, and he just wants every goblin art that he can get. And he was looking for the original Siege Gang commander for a long time, and at some point I got a call from one of my staff in the store. They were like, I saw this thing on Twitter. Somebody said they bought a print of this art at Hariria. We think it might be the original.
Oh wow!
And so I was trying to talk to this customer on Twitter, and we had him come into the store and show it to us, and it was the original painting that they bought for like $20 as a print from Hariria because they had it in storage and they didn't know what they had. And then I ended up selling it to Will like the same day, basically, because I literally asked him like, what would you pay for this? And then I offered like 15% less to the customer, and everyone was happy.
Yeah.
So
that was one of those story. I gotta say, that's a good story. Piece of iconic Magic art just squirreled away in the warehouse.
I mean, yeah, it's good advice to everyone listening to the cast too. Just go through your LGS's local art bin. Just go through their bulk art bin.
I guess
find some originals.
Yep, get right on that.
And
great
all
advice,
the originals that you have at home that you're holding on to, now might be a time to move those. I know you guys love it when we say, hey, it's a time to sell a thing, because you all have that stuff.
Can we have a breaking bulk section with art?
Yeah, well, now's the time. Sell all the original Magic art that you had scrolled away. The price of NFTs are crashing. People need somewhere stable to invest that money.
Right. Can you do breaking bulk on art? Is that a thing?
Sorry, that's not until 2023. I got my notes mixed up. Anyway, the point is, now's a good time to sell that art. We're helping.
So, Heiko, I was gonna say, what would your suggestion be to somebody who it might be looking to get into their first piece? Like somebody's like a Magic player, they have been for a few years, they have their legacy deck, they have a significant amount of 4-digit money in Magic cards, but they're like, okay, I want to start piecing something out. I haven't played because pandemic something. It would be nice to have something else on the wall instead that I can move in 10 years when my kid goes to college or whatever. What would your suggestion be for somebody to move into their first piece of art?
Okay, there's a lot of advice that I have for that kind of person, and it all ends with a similar idea of take your time and research. Right? Because art is difficult because it's unique and you don't really know what it's actually worth so oftentimes. And this is something like, I deal with from the other side, because I also represent the artist Lucas Graciano, and I sell all of his art. And we always have the same issue of, what do you price something at that just came out today and nobody knows yet if the card is good, right? So always make sure you understand what it might be worth that you're buying, because you can't look it up on Card Kingdom. That's not how that works. And so always get a second opinion and do some market research. Try to find art from the same artist or like from the same general area, like era from when it was, and try to get an idea for what it's worth. And then also try to make sure you understand what you're willing to pay. Because once you find art that you want to buy and you're not prepared, you will probably overpay. Just because you're in the swing of things and you want it and it's a once in a lifetime thing, right? So just always make sure you go into it knowing what you're getting yourself into. And that takes time. And then for places to actually start, just go to the MTG Art Market on Facebook and look at that and see what people are doing. That's really my best advice, I would say.
Yeah, there you go. It's great that so much of the Magic art community in particular has found a way. We were in the after hours, we were kind of dumping on Facebook as being annoying, but it does serve a lot of good uses, and one of them is giving that community a place to congregate in a way that's really improved sort of Magic as a whole.
Definitely, yeah. I think there's a lot going on there. And it's pretty generally welcoming to new people. It can be daunting to actually get into it, but if you talk to somebody like me or like the other agents that are there, like the bigger people, like Mike Linneman, Mark Aronovitz, all those kind of people, they're usually happy to help if you're interested in a piece that they're selling. So just be asking kindly and like try to make yourself an opinion for what you think it should be worth, and then go from there.
All right, absolutely. Well, this was fascinating. This is a lot of things that we certainly don't talk much about on the cast or know much about. Yeah. So I appreciate all of the insights. So before we get out of here this week,
you know what we need? We need a thing that we can say when someone says something that we either agree with or don't know enough about to criticize. Because we just, none of us says anything for 3 seconds, and then Corbin goes, well, yeah. And we did
Isn't
that
what
once
you're
an
saying
episode,
then? Doesn't
and
that
it's
work?
terrible. Yeah.
Thanks,
well,
Jason.
We've been doing this 9 years. You think we would have our together a little bit more? That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's knock out some picks of the week before we get out of here.
Yeah, we don't have our together. Good call. That's what you're supposed to say.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
My pick of the week this week is Avison's Memorial out of Commander Innistrad Midnight Hunt. So Avison's Memorial, 8 mana artifact, legendary, indestructible, other legendary permanents you control of indestructible. The extended art of this one is $3, but it's $3 after being $2.25. The non-extended art is also gone up a little bit. It's just a mythic, powerful thing. Avison, legendary art, like whatever. It's just a casual mythic kind of card, and it under $3. I think it's looking like it's a good graph right now.
Wasn't it the card that everybody was losing their shit over because it only deals with legendary cards? Or was that just a Japan thing? I don't know. I remember when it came out.
Thing.
That was.
I remember when it came out
ago.
I remember when it came out. My Twitter was full of people losing their. Like, how can Avison be treated this way when Akroma is giving the buff to all the creatures and this is only legendary? This is insane.
Oh, because of I see.
So I don't know. Like, that's just kind of what I remember about that card.
That seems about like Magic. Whatever. No. But yeah, pick it up at $3 or under.
My pick of the week is I don't think Jason will like it very much, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I don't like you very much, and
I'm a headstrong individual.
He's gonna say original
go forward.
Card.
Nope.
Every token from Strixhaven Commander decks.
So, Wizards broke the reserved list recently.
Are we talking about the Kaijudo thing?
I don't know what a Kaijudo is, but I do know what a Duel Masters is.
Whatever.
It's the same thing.
Duel Masters. Okay, sure. Duel Masters.
It's a funny story because Duel Masters is the name for the game in Japan, and Kaijudo is the name for the same game in America, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought they stopped doing Kaijudo.
It's the wrong way around, basically. It's really popular in Japan.
Really? A game where you can't block.
I don't know. I've never played it, but
All right.
I remember trying this game like years and years and years ago. I think it was like a Toys R Us when I was in middle school, and I just couldn't get into it. I played it for like 2 or 3 hours, and I was like, I'm going back to Yu-Gi-Oh. This is silly. But my point is that Duel Masters is also made by Wizards of the Coast, and they came out with a Black Lotus that is Japanese and foil, and you can get them for surprisingly cheap on various sites like eBay and whatnot. I do think that they will go up over time. These are something that will be collectible for the years to come.
They're Garth tokens, for your Garth deck that you definitely have.
I did just recently pick up a Garth One-Eye that is sealed in the package for
now
you
have to build it.
For my sealed in the package only commander deck.
Very cool.
This is my current project. Is a 99 card deck where everything is still in the pre-release promos.
I bet you could get a Regrowth and a Disenchant sealed in the package for that Garth deck, baby.
I have a Damnation. That's kind of cool. From like 2006.
That is good. Okay, no, it's not cool because that reminds me of the fact that I used to get free cards for playing tournaments, and then they stopped doing that. And I don't like that.
I cleaned out a binder the other day, and I have here. I show it to camera. Everyone is watching on YouTube. There's so many of these player reward cards and game day cards and stuff. They were so cool. These were my favorite.
I always had 4 of everything. The F&M too. Like 1 week at F&M, they're like, oh yeah, 1st through 4th place gets a foil counterspell. It was amazing. Like they were better at doing stuff back in 2006 than they are now, but they make more money now, so they assume they're doing it better.
They used to just mail you cryptic commands.
No, not just a cryptic command.
That you don't know what they're doing.
A cryptic command
You don't
with
know
no
what
text
it did,
on it.
But, yeah.
Yeah, just the person at F&M's like, I will mill you 35 cards and bounce all your creatures, and you're like, man, cryptic command's good.
Literally, they still make these cards, right? They're just secret layers. And they still mail them to you, to be fair.
You just have to pay them a bunch of money.
You just gotta pay
they take a year to do it.
To be fair, if you had to pay a bunch of money before, but you had to pay that money to keep your LGS in business.
In gas and tournament entry fees.
You had to keep your LGS in business.
You had to pay $5 for F&M.
Give it straight to Daddy Hasbro.
Yeah.
Cryptic Command is the original questing beast. Changed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. It's up there. Well,
Chains of Mephistopheles is the original.
Yeah, in terms of modern card design, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything
DJ
from
thinks Magic started in 2004.
I did forget that Elves of Deep Shadow was in the dark.
Yep, there you go. Jason, did you have a pick of the week?
Did I have a pick of the week? My pick is Chandra's Ignition, Zangief and Blanca edition. Soon this card will be $10 and your friends will be bitching.
I didn't realize that was a rhyme until it was done.
Clip that one, please.
That's how rhymes work, right?
Please clip that.
It was fucking seamless because I'm a professional.
Please clip that one.
So
Gotta put that one on Twitter.
For pick of the week, do you do like arbitrage stuff as well? Does that make sense? Because
Absolutely.
then I might have one.
It's great info, man. Just give people info.
Yes. I wasn't going to hold your feet to the fire here, but if you have a pick, we would love to hear.
Well, it's funny because I'm not sure how the cast works exactly. So I also had
Neither
Breaking
are
Bulk,
we.
but nobody asked me, so here I'm jumping in. So I have a card that I do not know at all why it's worth this much money, but I can tell you that it is because we've been selling it. It's called Artificious Intuition from Fifth Dawn.
Oh, yeah,
It's a survival of the fittest for artifacts, basically. And I just looked it up on TCG. It's about $8. And Haruya buys them for 1,500 yen, which is about $12, $13. And our retail price is about 3,000 yen on them, so like $25.
Whoo!
So you tell me why it's worth something, but I can tell you that it is worth something.
It just recently spiked. So what commander did it, Jason?
What card are we talking again?
Artificer's Intuition.
Hard spike.
Artificer's Intuition. I learned recently that that's how you pronounce it.
It's Artificer.
Yeah.
Which
Really,
nobody...
it's,
Tameshi Reality Architect, probably.
Oh, yep.
There you go.
So yeah, that's
one
thing
I
that I
did. I
figured.
went to edhrec.com. I typed in Artificer's Intuition, and it brought me to a page that I had the answer within seconds. So instead of being like, why the just go to EDHREC. 90% of the time, that's the answer.
I think that actually is going to be our new tagline. I'm thinking about this.
Check the rack before you embarrass yourself on Twitter.
Just go to EDHREC.
Check the rack. No, that's what we've been in the the MTG Finance subreddit. Anytime someone's like, "Why check the rack. What happened when you typed the card's name in EDHREC?" Because if you didn't do that,
so if I do that for Corbin's Breaking Bulk for the standard Mind Rot,
you won't be on. You were gonna have to click load more twice, probably.
That's why I'm bringing you information.
Okay, so now that I got used to this cast, can I do my Breaking Bulk? Like,
absolutely.
Is that a thing that works at this point in time?
Yes.
Please. Yes.
Corbin has no semblance of when things are supposed to start or stop anyway.
Because I'm also honestly curious if you guys know about this card or not, because it caught me by surprise.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna preface this with some information. The last copy we sold of this card was about a month ago for 80 yen, so nothing basically, and it currently sells for 8 cents on Card Market, but Haruya sells them for 600 yen.
So it's like a $5 card in Japan.
Yes, it recently became a $5 card in Japan, and it's a red common from Betrayers of Kamigawa.
Crack the Earth?
That is correct.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I have so many of those. I'm so happy
because I was like, "Why isn't the card worth money? I'm not bulking this out."
I squirrel those away constantly.
Yeah. They're in my. This can't possibly be bulk box.
Now I just don't know if it's worth anything in America, so that's for you to figure out.
It wasn't for the longest time.
Yeah, I was picking those just over the weekend because that card is very silly and people have been finding ways to just kind of do stuff.
It is roughly $1 to $2 here, but it's in the middle of the spike, so you can't really tell what the real price is.
All right, so like I guess that wasn't the worst pick.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Oh boy.
That was a good one, DJ.
I f***ed my leg up and forgot to bulk these out. I'm so good at this.
Well, there you go. That was great. Well, tell us, everybody, one more time where they can find you across the internet.
I'm on Twitter at MTG Heiko. That's with Heiko at the end, right? Because German funny spelling. Do keep in mind that I tweet like 99% in Japanese, so if that's not for you, I'm sorry. You can also find me on Facebook and friend request me, and I'm never going to respond, but just message me and I will most likely respond, because too many friend requests that I don't know who you are, but I'm always happy to talk to people that I don't know.
I mean, most people's phones can like translate your tweets, right? Like there's it's like one click, one press of your finger, and then Google does the thing. So
it can be really awkward with Japanese, but yeah, I mean, go for it, I guess.
It took us 2,000 years, but we finally defeated the Tower of Babel. Take that, you tower. No, nobody's into biblical / Batman references.
I guess so.
I only know about it from Batman. Or was that a Justice League book? Whatever. The point is, let's get out of here. I don't want to be podcasting anymore.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to the show. On behalf of everybody
this
here,
didn't have to be awkward. This was a choice Corbin made. I would just love to point it out. Every awkward silence was a chance for Corbin to pick up the ball and run with it. And he's like, lamppost. So, you know what? It looks like I'm bad at this. And maybe I am. And maybe I should have improved more than I did over the last decade. But I would just love to point out that some of the awkward silences... Not the person who set it up. That's all I'm saying. And that's my final rant of the week. Goodbye. If I leave this up to Corbin, we'll never get out of here. So I'm going to take the reins and drive us right off a cliff. That was our episode. Thank you for tuning in. See you next week. Goodbye.
Wait.
Patreon.com/BSB.
Yeah, you gotta hit the like button, the subscribe button, the bell icon. Patreon.com/BSB. We have a BCW
it's up to
supplies
you.
promo code.
You,
for
the
10%
listener,
off.
have to go to MTG Stocks and ask them for the list of ad copy we didn't read on the cast this week.
Also, go buy some art.
Yeah, go buy some art. Go to MTG
spend your
Stocks.
hard-earned thousands of dollars.
Consume.